In the Greater God video, I explained that Isaac Newton thought that he had discovered that the solar system was unstable, long-term unstable. And he wasn't quite sure how we are here today. Somehow the solar system is still here. For Newton, the only explanation that he could come up with was that God occasionally tweaks the solar system to keep it stable, tweaks the planets a little bit when they become perturbed. Much to the consternation of Gottfried Leibniz, who for Leibniz, this was blasphemous. There's no way God would create a solar system, a universe that was unstable and would require God to come back later and occasionally tweak it to keep it stable. So no one knew the answer to this problem, and after Newton and Leibniz, there was a great urge to solve this problem. It came about a century later when the great French scientist Pierre Laplace said that he had solved the problem, and he found that this problem took care of itself. The solar system was stable. These perturbations would die out, they would decay. No problem, don't worry about it. The solar system is long-term stable. Now, today, fast forward to today, it's a little more complicated. Contemporary cosmology is not so sure. The last I checked, the chances of the solar system being stable are pretty good. Most likely it's stable, was the findings. I'm not sure what the latest is, but there is a chance that it's unstable. It's a very complicated problem. But back to Laplace, that idea, that this general idea that Newton had used God as the solution to a scientific problem that Laplace later solved, became the poster child for what we now call God of the gaps. The basic idea behind the God of the gaps argument is that one ought not to use God to cover up or to explain gaps in the scientific knowledge. If there's something you don't understand, don't then say, oh, well, God did that. It's like that old cartoon where the mathematician is at the blackboard writing all these things, and then he says, then a miracle happened. God of the gaps. You're using God, you're using a miracle to explain what you don't yet understand. And this has become a very popular argument for evolution. Now, you won't often see it in formal presentations like journal papers or textbooks, but socially it's very popular on the internet, in lectures, and word of mouth. If you're a graduate student, a postdoc, a young researcher, you're probably well familiar with this. It's a very popular argument socially. And science is a very social activity. It's not all math and experiments and derivations. It's very social. You need to have the respect of your peers and the confidence of your peers. You also need to get funding grants. And so you need to be looked upon as a good scientist. Your social standing is as important practically as anything else, although I'd like not to think of that. But it is a very social activity. And social pressures are very important in science. They just are. And the God of the gaps is a very powerful social argument for evolution. So what about this God of the gaps argument? So what you need to be asking yourself is, what would you do? What would a scientist do if he or she discovered negative evidence for evolution? What would happen if you discovered a problem? Contradictions, scientific contradictions to the theory of evolution. Well, under the God of the gaps, you really can't come forward with negative problems with evolution if they're going to actually question evolution. It has a chilling effect. God of the gaps has a chilling effect. Evolution is always going to be the right answer regardless of the evidence. You can change the theory of evolution. You can hypothesize new mechanisms, new explanations, so long as it's evolution of some sort. But if you're going to question evolution, the retort is going to be at the social level, it's another Isaac Newton, it's another God of the gaps problem. It's not good. Don't do that. It's the third rail. You cannot touch that. You cannot question evolution because you'd be committing the God of the gaps faux pas. Arguments like God of the gaps make negative evidence irrelevant. Evolution has to be the right answer regardless of the evidence. So it protects the theory. It protects the theory from negative evidence, from empirical problems. It's a non-empirical argument. The argument doesn't depend on empirical evidence. It's impervious to empirical evidence. It doesn't matter what you find. Evolution has to be the right answer. Religion drives science, and it matters.